Coming up next on Groundbreakers, a steep backyard hillside is turned into a terraced landscape with something for everyone. Stay tuned to see how wood, water, stone, and plants come together to complete the transformation. Hello and welcome to Groundbreakers. I'm Joe Washington. On today's show, we're following an exciting landscape transformation. We're in a neighborhood where the homes are very close to each other. Space is at a premium. The home has a small backyard, but it slopes so drastically that it's almost unusable for the homeowners. After 12 years of living with this challenging yard, they're finally ready for some major improvements. Let's meet the homeowners now and find out what kinds of changes they have in mind.
We had a specific geographic area to look for, and we were looking through this community and ran across this subdivision that was just starting to develop. And we bought the model house in the subdivision.
Joe and Gloria were happy with the home they purchased 12 years ago, but the backyard needed some work.
We found a lot of weeds back there when we first moved in. You know, we spent a little bit of time looking at it and trying to decide what we wanted to do with it, and we're not really yard people. We don't really like working in the yard that much, and so we tried to put some things back there that would look pretty, that would take a whole lot of maintenance, but not much.
Maybe 20 yards off the house, it just fell into a hole. There was a drainage easement back there, and we just didn't bother doing anything with it. And when we negotiated the price of the house, I guess we did maybe too good of a job because the builder didn't want to move another stick back there. So we just had this abomination back there for a long time.
That slope left the bottom half of the yard inaccessible and all but unusable.
We entertain maybe 5 times a year, and the house handles it very well, but it would be really nice for people to be able to flow outside and then carry it throughout the yard. And I think that'll be a real strong point for us to be able to entertain in different ways.
For Gloria, creating an attractive outdoor space for those get-togethers was strong motivation for finally tackling the backyard.
We like to entertain. We like to have people over, and it was always such an embarrassment. Our backyard was such an embarrassment. I think we have a pretty nice house, but the backyard was just awful.
The drop-off in the middle of the backyard presents quite a challenge, but in the hands of the right designer, it provides the opportunity for something great. Let's meet the landscape architect who says he's up to that challenge. Now, normally a slope is seen as a negative, but not in this case.
Right, we're going to take this negative and make it a positive by adding a nice water feature that transitions that slope.
I'm here with landscape architect Kyle Griswold. And Kyle, Gloria and Joe would like to be able to have friends over and entertain in their backyard, but it's pretty tough with that small hillside they have back there. How are you going to fix that?
It is. It's a change of elevation of about 10 feet. But what we're going to do is come in with a nice modular wall design that's going to help create some different spaces. We'll have a space for a hot tub, a nice brick paver area here, and some nice decks that transition in that level.
Right. The work you're doing with the retaining walls also allows you to have this nice water feature. What's unique about that?
Well, it's going to be really nice in that it's going to grab your attention right off from the new screened-in porch, and we'll have a nice stone bridge that transitions across it. And this is just going to be a really nice flowing water, have a nice sound to it that's going to drown out some of the traffic noise they have in the area.
Right. The existing deck is pretty much all the homeowners have right now, but it's in real bad shape. Tell us more about what you're going to do with that area.
It is in bad shape. We're going to take that totally out. We're going to come in with a nice screened-in porch. This is going to allow them to have entertainment space outside without having to be attacked by the insects. And then we're going to come out of that with a nice curvilinear deck that's going to be totally different from the standard 9x12 deck. It's going to have a nice curvilinear nature to it, and then transition nicely to the brick pavers and then on down into the lower parts of the yard.
Okay. Now this is a cluster community, so the homeowners would like privacy, yet low maintenance in their landscape. How are you going to accomplish that?
Well, we're going to come in with some nice evergreen screening that's going to achieve that quite nicely. We'll have some nice Japanese anise in these areas, and then we'll have some nice Camellia sasanqua over in these areas here.
Well, it looks like you're going to put quite a bit into a very small space. I can't wait to see the outcome. When we come back, workers will begin tearing the old deck away from the house and carving into that hillside, so stay with us. Hello and welcome back to Groundbreakers. Today, we're following a dramatic renovation. The homeowners enjoy entertaining friends and family, but a small backyard makes that challenging, and a severe slope renders much of the yard unusable. Their new landscape will include a screened-in porch, a curving deck, a stone paver patio, and not one, but 2 ponds. There's a lot of work to be done, starting with the demolition of the old landscape. Crews begin with the deck. Once the rails are demolished by hand, a backhoe tears the main structure away from the house. The old decking is cut into pieces and hauled away, along with what little plant material surrounded the area. Then work begins on the hill itself and below. Heavy machinery is brought in to clean up years of overgrowth and debris. A backhoe carves into the hillside in preparation for a new waterfall. The grade on top of the hill is smoothed out where the new deck and patio will sit. And a grinder is used to make short work of several old tree stumps in the area. With a clean slate to start from, the second week on the project begins with workers meeting on the job site to go over the landscape plan. Careful measurements are taken and lines are sprayed to mark the layout of the design's different features. Then, digging begins. At the bottom of the hill, a front-end loader cuts into the slope. Then workers dig a trench for footers that will support a tall retaining wall with a deck and spa on top. The bottom of the trench is compacted. Gravel is added, and it's compacted again. This process is repeated until the gravel sits at just the right height and is perfectly level all the way across. Midway through the project's third week, the retaining wall has been started. More gravel, called 57 stone, is used to backfill immediately behind the wall, with soil behind that. A filter fabric liner separates the two. The soil is compacted until solid, and the next row is added 1 concrete block at a time. Contractor Greg Reen describes the care taken in designing the wall.
The first thing we did with the walls is I submitted a set of the architect's plans to the engineers, and he drew up a set of specifications for our footer depths and our gravel depths behind the wall, our 57 stone, and our geogrid links going back into the bank to reinforce the walls.
Plastic pins keep each row of blocks set back just a bit from the row under it. This makes the entire wall lean back slightly. It's a technique called battering, and it's what keeps the wall from toppling forward. By the fourth week of the project, the main wall is almost complete, along with a matching stairway that wraps around the wall. Crews also begin digging shallow trenches at the top of the hill. Here, a series of smaller walls will be built where the new deck, a paver patio, and the spa will meet at different elevations. Again, gravel is added to the trenches and compacted solid. A truckload of large boulders arrives on site, signaling the next phase of the installation, the waterfall. It's now the 6th week, and inclement weather has slowed the job's progress.
The weather has been a big issue on this site, on this project. We've had a lot of open grade, a lot of soil here, and every time we get a rain, even if it's just for 15 or 20 minutes, it's created a lot of mud on the site and made conditions a bit difficult to work in. But it's a challenge we're definitely working to get through.
The area for the waterfall has been excavated, and workers shape the pond at the bottom by hand. While this work continues, concrete blocks are cut with a wet saw, and the steps themselves are installed along the stairway. The pump box is positioned in the bottom pond, and a trench is dug running up the length of the waterfall for pipes that will recirculate water from the bottom pool back up to the top of the hill. Padding is spread along the waterfall and the pond itself. This thick pad will protect the liner from being punctured by any roots or rocks the crew may have missed. The liner is then unrolled down the length of the waterfall. Working without their shoes to avoid accidentally tearing the liner, the crew tightens the folds and smooths out the entire liner surface. Only then do they start positioning rocks and boulders. The first one to be placed is the rock that will create the final waterfall at the bottom. It's checked for level, then other large boulders are set around it. Once the larger rocks are in place, smaller nugget rock is added to the bottom pool like puzzle pieces to completely hide the liner. The crew continues rocking toward the top of the waterfall. In the small top pool, they install the plastic fall box. Stones are built up to the lip, and with the box perfectly level, a single flat stone is affixed to the lip with adhesive foam. Water will cascade over this falls rock, beginning the waterfall effect that ends 18 feet downhill in the bottom pond. It's quite a drop, but was even longer in the original design.
The pond was originally supposed to be placed about where I'm standing here, but because of the drainage issue and being a drainage easement, we decided to move it back up the bank about 10 to 15 feet. It would have filled with water from the runoff from the properties above this property.
The backyard hillside is already taking on a new look, but there's a lot more to be done. When we come back, crews will surround the new patios with plants that will let the homeowners concentrate on enjoying the landscape instead of maintaining it. Hello and welcome back to Groundbreakers. I'm Joe Washington. If you're just joining us, we're following the complete renovation of a small sloping property. The homeowners would like their backyard to be a place where they can entertain large groups of people. Originally, the yard held a small deck and steep hill, which limited their use of the yard. Workers are now putting in a new landscape that will turn the hill into an asset and give the homeowners more usable space. The project is still in its 7th week, and work now begins on a small paver patio at the top of the new stone staircase. Gravel is dumped into the circular support wall and smoothed out by hand. Fine granite sand is also added and compacted. Once a solid level foundation is established, workers begin setting concrete pavers of varying sizes inside both the circular patio and the stairway landings. A string is used to keep the pavers in perfect alignment. By the 8th week, the paver patio is finished, and the homeowner's dog Harry looks on as construction begins on a new screened-in sunroom where the old deck used to sit. A ledger board is bolted to the house itself, then end joists are temporarily braced on either side. A 4th board connects the 2 end joists and creates the frame for the floor of the new sunroom. Once it's made level and square, more joists are set inside the frame and nailed in place. Floor framing extends outside the sunroom, where a small deck will be added. The next day, the new spa arrives on site. It's carefully wheeled in and set on top of the main retaining wall. The new decking will also extend to this level when complete and give the spa a built-in appearance. Meanwhile, workers have begun framing out the walls for the new sunroom. Each of the posts is checked for plumb and secured with a pneumatic nailer. By the following week, the walls have been framed, railings have been added, and a roof has been installed. Crews now begin attaching the screen. They use a black nylon mesh, stretching it taut and stapling it in place. Once the sunroom has been completed, workers move on to the cedar deck, which wraps around the sunroom on 2 sides. By midweek, construction on the main deck is done. Curved cuts have been made around the outside edges, giving the deck a circular look. The crew now goes to work on the railings. Short posts are secured to the curved deck facing. Then a panel is built using curved top and bottom rails and spindles made from wrought iron stock. The spindle locations are marked on each rail, and pilot holes are drilled to a set depth. Then the metal spindles are positioned over the holes and pounded in tight. The entire railing section is then attached between the 2 posts. Workers also build a smaller deck that encompasses the spa on top of the retaining wall just below the main deck. Exact cuts are made to the board edges so they fit tightly against both the spa and the concrete blocks of the wall itself. In the project's 10th week, an irrigation system is installed. Sprinkler heads are positioned throughout the landscape in anticipation of new plantings that will go near the house, along the waterfall, and below the decks and retaining wall. The plants arrive the following week. The largest trees are planted first at the bottom of the yard. Kyle has some special selections picked out for the area.
We've got a drainage easement at the bottom of the hill. All of the drainage from this property drains down there, as well as neighboring drainage. And it typically is kind of an eyesore. We're going to enhance it. We're going to make it a usable space. We had to get permission to do some planting there. Down in the easement, we've got some river birch. Love the water. The water is going to be traveling through there. That's going to be just loving it down there.
One of the more interesting plantings is right in the middle of the waterfall stream. Workers dig through an opening left in the liner, underneath a rock outcropping. Then a small tree is planted with the stream running down either side of it.
This is a Japanese dissectum. Any type of maple is always a wonderful thing by the water. This is just going to be a wonderful spot for it in the middle of the waterfall. It's going to do fine there over the years and will really be a wonderful addition.
Other plantings have been chosen to provide color throughout the year.
We've got some fall blooming camellias that just will provide a wonderful blossom in the fall. We've got a variegated hydrangea that will provide a beautiful blossom in the springtime. The spirea is another nice planting that has a wonderful blossom, kind of a pinkish color blossom.
With the plantings in, aluminum fencing is installed around the backyard's perimeter as the 11th week on the project comes to an end. This will help provide privacy for the homeowners while adding an extra measure of security near the waterfall. Work is almost finished, but don't go away, because when we come back, we'll tour the new landscape with a designer, and we'll find out if the homeowners who called their old backyard an embarrassment are now ready to show it off in style. Hello and welcome back to Groundbreakers. The transformation of this small backyard is complete, and what a difference.